Okay guys, welcome back to Our World Outdoors. So today we got a tagged video. We got tagged by Willie Outdoors. If you haven't checked out Willie's channel, him and his wife Gretchen are awesome. We'll put the link to their channel down in the description box. So when thinking about our best backpacking trip, the first thing that would come to mind would be one of our group trips. We've had a lot. One of the main ones that was really awesome was Dolly Sods, which we did with Gretchen and Willie, and we would naturally, go to that as one of our best, but we wanted to be our best, as in just me and my wife. So after talking about it and thinking about it a lot, we kind of decided that Carter Caves 4C Trail was probably our best trip for a lot of different reasons. We learned a lot, we enjoyed ourselves, it was just a wonderful trip all around. There was parts that weren't great, but that's kind of what made it the best backpacking trip for us. When we went down, we filmed several videos on this trip when we went down. One of them was we got a permit and we were able to run around a bunch of caves on a separate trail other than the 4C trail. So that was really something that I really enjoyed, even though it wasn't part of the actual trail we were backpacking. And it did wear us down some to go do that before we started our backpacking trip, but it was still a really great time.
But obviously not enough to wear us down too much, because we did some extra trails whenever we finished the next day.
Yeah, we did. We went and checked out some of the...
So there's lots to do down there.
Carter Cave State Park is an amazing place. But one of the real things that I liked about it when we were going in was they told us when we got our permit that there was a lot of natural arches, natural bridges, whatever you want to call it. And we were like, oh, okay, just expecting something small, and it wasn't small. They were huge arches.
Like huge,
yeah.
Really beautiful. Like you'd walk under them, it'd take you a minute to just walk all the way through it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, my pan shots were like 30 seconds to a minute just to go scope them over. You know what I mean? It's huge. And then we got to the one where it's almost like it goes under and it's a cave as well. You actually have to climb down. The trail climbs down this rickety old like wooden steps.
Looks like you're going into this pit.
Yeah, and then you go
under the natural arch.
Yeah, so it was definitely an amazing experience. It was really nice. Kind of sketchy at some spots, but really nice.
They
and
also
amazing.
have the only natural arch in Kentucky that a road goes over top of.
Yeah, you can drive over it.
That you can drive over top of it.
Yeah.
And that one's huge.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I mean, it's massive to walk under. You could drive a school bus under it easily.
And waterfalls all over the place.
All kinds of water sources, waterfalls, from just a drizzle coming over to giant, massive waterfalls going over. I mean, big ones. We sat down, had lunch by one, and really enjoyed it. Enjoyed ourselves. The other thing is it's got springs that pop up here and there. Some are as little as seeps. Some is actually a pipe coming out of like the side of the ground in the middle of nowhere.
A lot of them come right out of the limestone too.
Yeah.
Really neat.
Yeah, there's plenty of good water sources there.
Great water sources.
So, one of the things I really liked was the outcroppings in the rock walls. I mean, you'd go walking down the trail and you're literally walking by a, anywhere from 50 to 100 foot wall of rock sheer right on your side. And you're going down and the colors in the rock change as you walk, There's limestone, and then it'll go to like almost like a shale look to it. And then you'll go to the points that look like it's got a bunch of grooves cut into it all the way down.
Remember that one where you were on top of it and you were looking down and it looked like it just fell forever?
Yeah, it was like about a 600-foot drop, and you're just looking over the edge going, whoa. And it was sheer. You didn't even know it was there. Like, you'd walk to the edge, and if I wouldn't have looked down, if I'd have been looking to the camera, I would have gone right off the edge. It was pretty amazing. And the second morning we came up, and it was just wall. We walked basically right into a wall of rock after the bridge. And it was just a whole wall of rock. So, yeah, the outcroppings and the rock features are pretty amazing, and just the scale of them.
And a lot of it runs like right by the rock walls, which I like doing.
So, there is a lake.
A pretty good sized lake.
Yep, it kind of spans the whole center in and out of the 4C trail. It kind of wraps around it, and it's kind of back in the corner of it. So in essence, you're walking around the lake, but you interact with the lake throughout the whole thing. And you can get water out of it, and it's good water. It really filters easy. It's not mucky. It's not nasty. I do find, though, that if you try to go into the actual water, when we were there, it was freaking cold.
Because all the water coming out of them rocks is running into it. And, I mean, now we were there Easter weekend. But still, that water was cold. Even whenever we were filtering and you stuck your hand in the water to fill up your bottle, it was cold.
Yeah, if you were getting there just at night like we were and it was a cold evening, you would not want to get your feet wet.
But clean water, oh.
Yep.
So, I got to do something that I'd never done on this trip before.
Yep.
Which I felt very accomplished for afterwards. I got to make a fire with a ferro rod for the very first time, and I was successful.
That's right. She got it the first time. She took out it's a ferro rod. It's a magnesium / ferro rod. It's a cheapie, but it's one of the short ones too. Even so, she didn't have like the full strike distance. It's one of the ultralight, thin little ones that's got a magnesium coating on it. And it took 2 attempts. I remember she did it twice, and the second time she got it to go. So she started her first fire with a magnesium rod, ferro rod, whatever you want to call it, fire starter rod, and it was even the mini one, so the short throw, which is kind of a pain.
So this trip will always be a memory for me because I got to do something for the very first time.
I was very, very proud of her for that, because that's not an easy thing to do, especially your first time. So, and there's more to it than there's just that. I mean, you actually took the time to build the fire correctly, and it's nice to see you do it that way, and I'll be impressed to see in the future what other ways you start fire. But the other thing that was nice is at the site that we stayed at, because there's 2 backcountry sites you can stay at. The one we stayed at had a brand new Adirondack style shelter. That shelter was literally brand new. And it had a fire pit outside the door.
Nice fire pit.
With a tripod over it. It had
metal covering it.
Metal covering it because it was stone that had been grouted and made an actual fire pit. And it's not like a bunch of rocks just set in a circle.
Picnic table.
Picnic table. It had below it, say if somebody already had the shelter area full, below it there was an entire second campsite, which was just like a tent or hammock site. It had a full fire pit and a picnic table. So actually there was 2 full sites at this one that we stayed at. And the second one was more like just a tent site and had multiple fire pits.
But you could put a lot more people at the second one. I think that one's called the Johnson family one.
Johnson Family Homestead or something like that. And the one we stayed at was called like Eagle's Nest,
yes,
I think.
Eagle's Nest.
But they're just really clean and nice setup areas that have flat spots for tents. I mean, you can easily see where things go and where things can be set up. The shelter was huge, had 2 little tabletops in it, was a more finished version because it had plywood on the inside, had decking for the floor, and was all encased in roofing metal on the outside. So
had a broom in there so you could sweep up afterwards and
clean things up.
Super nice.
It was a really nice place to go and land at night after hiking when it was hot. So.
And we had lots of amazing food for that trip.
Yeah, we did. We went way overboard on that one.
Way overboard.
We had spaghetti.
Dehydrated spaghetti.
Yep, and we had a big bowl of noodles, like the huge cup of noodles.
Buffalo chicken.
Dehydrated buffalo
chicken in it.
Yep, that was good.
And the next morning,
oh boy,
we had the most amazing muffin bomb ever.
Had a huge muffin bomb, and it had, on top of that, we put dehydrated strawberries in it. And we also had, that night when we got to camp, you made coffee. And then we had coffee later in the evening around the fire. And
we had coffee in the morning.
We had big coffee time in the morning. Well, I needed some coffee to get going that morning. So it was just the food and the coffee and just the sitting by the fire and enjoying the campsite. All that was absolutely amazing on that trip. Not good for us, but amazing.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to do a little bit better this year. There was a really neat swinging bridge that we went across on day 2.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's like the leg of, it almost looks like a river, but it's the leg of the lake is what it is. And it was cool because it's not just a swinging bridge. It actually, you go up and then it goes this way for like 8 foot, and that's where the bridge starts and arcs, and then it has another flat deck at the other 8 foot of the other end, and then down steps. So you can see where that area must flood really bad, and the water must get really high for them to have to go that high off.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nice plank floor. I mean, it's really a high quality swinging bridge. Somebody did a real good job building that.
And right after you get across it, you go straight up a steep hill.
Sharp incline
But
up.
the rock croppings up in there, the rock wall was beautiful.
Yeah, and that's where we started seeing all the deer jumping and all the different wildlife really was going the next morning heavily. And we started walking through some kind of grove stuff and growing over ponds and stuff, and there's flowers everywhere, wildflowers everywhere.
All in all, it was just an amazing trip. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves.
We really pushed ourselves too hard on that trip, but it was still enjoyable. So you know, when you go down, I mean, you get up in the morning, you drive down super early, you do multiple trails, and then you start your backpacking trip. And mind you, we have to film all this stuff, so it's doubling back to get cameras and all the other stuff. It shows you that if you still have an amazing time, it was a really good trip. I mean, we ran ourselves to death on that trip, and it was just amazing. At that time, actually, they were doing the Easter egg hunt down there too, and that was cool to walk by.
So we got to see the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, and all the kids just having a ball. It's an amazing place. If you guys get the opportunity to go to Carter Caves,
Well groomed.
I really suggest you do. They keep the trails very clean, very well groomed. The whole area is very nice and well taken care of. They do have cabins. They do have lodges if you're not into backcountry camping. If you are going to go backcountry camping, you need to get the permit from them before you do. If you're going to go explore the actual caves, which I mean real caves, go get the permit for that too.
Well worth it.
Costs nothing.
Take your headlamps. We should have took more lamps than what we did.
As much light as you can take it.
Because it would have been a lot nicer to have even more light than what we had in the caves.
So we appreciate you guys coming along with us as we discussed our tagged video of Carter Caves.
Our most memorable trip.
Now, generally at this point we would tag other people, but we're going to leave this one alone because it is going around like wildfire, and we'll leave that to better people. If you watch this video and you enjoyed it at all, please take a moment, go down, hit that subscribe button, and then hit the notification bell, and then
we'll see you up the trail.